Is this on?
It
Is this on?
It is. Let me my damn chat overlay.
Alright. Chat overlay working. Make sure everything's working right. I already started driving because I'm trucking it. Hold on, let me put that on. I like move stuff. Is that like a thing I can't. I'll just like pop out chat. Have it be on the side of the screen. There we go. Yeah, hell yeah, I be trucking it. Where's my Zen? I'm popping this in. I should be able to stop pausing it. There we go. The only problem with streaming it is they don't get music. Because of copyright. Yeah, we trucking it. So true. Truckers and Zens. Can't have a cigarette while in the truck, so I gotta use a Zen. The company would get pissy with me. Oh, yeah, this pay is pretty big. Considering this is a new save.
Exit right.
Oh, yeah, we be trucking. The only real issue, though, with this is that a lot of this part of the map, it just causes the game to crash. Like, the reason I want it around here is because, like, this highway and this town, too, like, I couldn't just go around here. I had to go all the way around here just because the game kept crashing. So true. The AI in this game can be pretty dumb at times. It just merge right into my truck, and then I have to pay for it. I mean, yeah, That is realistic. Average truck-related accident. Dumbass merges right into the trailer. Put my, have my lights on. I'm about to get out of Mexico. It looks like I'll be in Mexico for a bit longer. Ah, yes, one of the dumb toll booths. Where the tolls are like an arm and a leg, because, yeah. I'll let this guy get in front. Hoping I can get a steering wheel for this game soon. I've been playing a shit ton of it. Just haven't been streaming it because, I can't have music if I do. What's that guy doing?
Go straight on.
I mean, like, yeah, they're like 200, 300, but the way I've been playing this game, it's probably worth it. Alright, coast clear. I gotta get. I'll see you around. Trucking it. I am trucking it.
Keep right. Get ready to turn right.
Turn right. Excuse me, man, I didn't see a,
Turn right.
Ah, yes, customs. Ah, yes, the, wait station. The wait station is literally right here. They force everyone through it. There's the guy. Were they really gonna force me through another way station as soon as I cross the border? There's a surprising lack of people trying to cross into America at 9 p.m.
Go straight on.
Yep. Really just went through a way station. Now you're making me do it again. Gotta love customs. Canada is nothing like this. Alright, 6 hours. Let me choose a spot to rest. That's like 2 hours. I hate that type of stuff. 4 hours. Alrighty. We're almost 5.
Okay, here we go.
Keep an eye on that. Make sure I don't get delayed by a bunch.
Go straight on.
Oh yes, red light. They are not gonna let me through. This is gonna take a bit. Yep, I can go.
Go straight on.
We're back on the road. be back. Alright, I'm back. Got pizza now. Alright, let's keep on driving. radio.
Taxes. Last year, Oklahoma lawmakers approved an automatic income tax cut if the state meets certain surplus revenue targets. This year, the state is about $1 billion short of the threshold to activate what would have been the first 0.25% income tax.
Every holiday shopper's got a list, but Ross shoppers, you've got a mission. You head in for a quick white elephant gift and leave with a sequin jacket, a disco snow globe, and a candle that smells like gingerbread and glory. You found amazing pajamas for the whole family and...
Listen up, football fans.
Copenhagen Spit-Free packs American-grown tobacco into pouches. Made for when your elbows deep in it.
I fuck it, public radio.
Learn more
Listening to public radio.
/NPR. From Capital One, offering their dining and entertainment card Saver. What's in your wallet?
We're listening to ads.
Details at CapitalOne.com. And from the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation at macfound.org.
From NPR News, this is All Things Considered. I'm Elsa Chang, and I'm Juana Summers. A question has loomed over CBS News since it got new owners this summer. How beholden are they to the Trump administration? This chorus grew louder over the weekend.
Oh shit, dude, this is actual fucking, this is like actual public radio.
To broadcast this past Sunday included people the Trump administration had sent to a prison in El Salvador. NPR's David Falkenflik is here with more. Hi there.
Hey, Juana.
David, start by telling us, what is the story in question and why did CBS's new editor-in-chief spike it?
So the correspondent Sharon Alfonsi and her team interviewed a number of Venezuelan migrants who had been sent by Trump administration down to a notorious prison in El Salvador, and they were going to allege on camera that they had been badly abused, in some cases tortured, sexually assaulted by their captors there. This, of course, a prison that the administration had chosen for these detainees to be sent to.
Well, I gotta look this up.
Barry Weiss, the editor-in-chief of CBS News, had objected initially earlier last week to the fact they were referred to as migrants and not illegal immigrants, a term which is preferred by the Trump administration. And then as late Friday, call it, into early Monday, she decided that this was a CBS story that airing on its signature news magazine, 60 Minutes. It needed to have a prominent Trump administration official like Stephen Miller, the president's advisor, or somebody of that nature, to be on camera talking on the record about this if they were going to lodge these accusations against what the administration had done.
And this decision by Barry Weiss has sparked...
That is so fucking cool.
Tell us more. How's it played out?
Well, so the official announcement that the story was going to be held back from last night's 7 p.m. Or evening 60 Minutes came out at 5 p.m. At 5:38 p.m., Alfonsi sent out an email to colleagues that we obtained, other news organizations obtained, which she said she said that she believed that this decision was made as a political decision, not an editorial one. It had gone through 5 layers of review.
That is
Alfonsi
actually
said, and
cool.
colleagues of hers
I find that hilarious.
An additional layer of scrutiny than most segments are subjected to.
Hold on. No, that's not working. That doesn't work. All right, yeah, I can't like.
On the air, we're essentially giving them what Alfonsi called a kill decision. And there are a number of colleagues within CBS, not uniformly, but within CBS 60 Minutes that completely agree with that assessment.
And Barry Weiss, we should point out, is pretty new at CBS.
Public radio.
How does what she's done with 60 Minutes...
Actual real world public radio. That is
This
hilarious.
decision entirely, or particularly the reaction to it, without thinking about how she got there. Just as you say, she was the founder of the Free Press, which was a digital news and view sites created around the proposition that the rest of media is reflexively liberal. And she was brought in here by the new owners of CBS's parent company, Paramount, to reshape and redefine what CBS News is. The Ellison family that acquired the network and its parent company made a bunch of concessions.
I'm gonna be
to make
quiet
sure
about
President
that.
Trump's broadcast regulator let this deal go through, and they're trying similarly to earn the support of President Trump and his antitrust regulators if they're able to win in a bid for Warner Brothers Discovery, the parent company for CNN, to get approval for that as well. And so
I heard about this crap.
Corporate pressures, even as you have a
Basically trying to own like every radio station. Or not radio station, like all of public media.
Like trachoma or schistosomiasis. That is why they are called neglected tropical diseases. These ancient afflictions affect more than 1 billion people worldwide and can be profoundly debilitating. Well, a small U.S. foreign aid program has worked for nearly 2 decades to eliminate these diseases. And in January, the Trump administration
So we got rid of it?
down.
Sweet.
Jonathan Lambert reports on the impact.
Around 2018, Django Tunkara started having trouble with her eyes.
They're gonna guilt trip us.
From a night vision problem.
She lives in Kita, a town in Mali, and she says she didn't know what was wrong.
It was getting worse and worse by the day.
As it turned
Well,
out,
not
Tunkara
our
had
problem.
trachoma,
Someone else can
21
figure that out.
conditions collectively known as neglected tropical diseases, or NTDs for
Have
short.
her own.
The bacterial infection can cause eyelashes to curl inwards, eventually causing blindness.
That
Thanks
is.
to a program funded by the United States Agency for International Development.
Can we stop
Tunkara got
talking
treated
about the
and was
foreign
cured.
policy? And just like talk about what the hell that is?
I'd be sitting at home just as a blind person.
In fact, Tunkara had known about trachoma for a long time. For about 2 decades, her job was to distribute drugs in communities across Mali that could prevent and
Drugs?
treat NTDs.
Yeah, fuck it, dude. This stream is just gonna be
Those
me
efforts are
commentating
financed
on
primarily
public
with US
radio.
funds, but carried out by local health workers. It's a strategy with a proven track record. In fact, just a couple years after Tunkara's treatment, Mali officially eliminated the disease that could have blinded her. The country was using the same strategy against other tropical diseases until the programs were cut.
We were planning to go to meet the communities when we heard about the freeze. I felt totally deceived.
Deceived, she says, because after years of support, the cuts came abruptly, with no warning. That left health officials in the country reeling. Mamadou Koulibaly coordinates several elimination programs.
Maybe you shouldn't rely on the United States for everything.
It was like a thunderbolt. This lack of financing has stopped our activities.
Mali was working to eliminate several tropical diseases.
Dude, get your own funding.
Snuffing out lymphatic filariasis, an NTD that causes awful swelling of body parts.
These are diseases that make someone completely invalid. They have a very heavy impact on the development of the country. There could be a return of these diseases if we're not careful.
He says the country has scrambled to use its own money to fill the abrupt financial void, but it just isn't enough. To Angela Weaver, the abrupt end of USAID's program is a tremendous waste. She'd worked on that program for over a decade, almost from its start in 2006.
I think it was one of the most effective and cost-efficient programs that USAID has ever had.
That's largely because billions of dollars worth of medicines were donated by drug companies. All told, the program has provided treatment for more than 1.7 billion people and helped over a dozen countries eliminate at least
You know,
one
maybe
NTD.
streaming this isn't that
All
bad. I
with a
didn't
relatively
realize we
small
had
annual
actual
budget, just over
radio.
100 million.
It's a rounding error for the bigger global health budgets, but those are still U.S. taxpayer dollars being invested in these communities, and to sort of see that just kind of wiped away is really devastating.
Weaver is now vice president for Helen Keller International, a nonprofit that's had some success filling gaps. But she says they're nowhere near big enough to replace the stability U.S. funds had provided. NPR asked several federal agencies whether any NTD programs are still being funded. We reached out to a USAID spokesperson who responded with a screenshot of an NPR story from July with this headline, "Farewell to USAID." And above that, their official comment, quote, "What do you think farewell meant?" Jonathan Lambert, NPR News.
We're getting music now.
Arts of Tulsa announced their 2026 January exhibitions. 24 Hours of Wonder is an evolving international art installation and archive.
Yeah, that sounds boring.
Time is an exhibition which explores the relationship between landscape, material, and duration, featuring artwork by Patrick Cocoot, Robin Baker, and Chris Overstate. The exhibitions get underway January 2nd at the gallery. Information at livingarts.org.
Support for Public Radio Tulsa is provided by the founders of the Shining Honor Project, funding the cleaning and honoring of veterans' headstones by adults with developmental challenges while building skills, confidence, and community for honor team members. More at shininghonor.org.
National Public Radio from the University of Tulsa. Public Radio 89.5 KWGS HD1 Tulsa.
It's All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Juana Summers.
And I'm Elsie Chang. The Trump administration upended federal funding for various scientific pursuits. Where does the country's commitment to science stand today?
It's very tragic and very distressing for everybody who cares about U.S. prosperity and U.S. leadership in the world.
Now news.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Nora Rahm. President Trump announced plans today to build a new large ship as part of a new naval fleet. The so-called Golden Fleet may eventually have as many as 25 ships.
They'll help maintain American military supremacy, revive the American shipbuilding industry, and inspire fear in America's enemies all over the world.
Trump says he plans to help the Navy design the new ship because, in his words, he's a very aesthetic person. A federal judge held today the government denied due process to a group of Venezuelan men who were deported to a prison in El Salvador in March. He ruled all of the men deported at that time should have a chance to challenge their removal. Judge James Boasberg gave the government until January 5th to either facilitate their return to the U.S. or provide them with hearings to give them due process. A new Inspector General report found that people calling into the Social Security Administration got their calls answered faster this year. But millions of callers didn't get the help they needed on those calls. NPR's Ashley Lopez reports.
The Social Security Administration implemented changes this year aimed at driving down wait times. Staff was moved around to answer the agency's 1-800 number. Despite massive agency-wide staff cuts, there was new technology rolled out, allowing callers to get a call back instead of waiting on hold for help. About 24 million callers out of 68 million opted for this and weren't factored in wait times. This all led to a faster reported average speed of answer. But the Inspector General also found that about 25 million calls ended without the callers receiving the service they needed. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren, whose questions prompted the report, says changes at the agency created a customer service mess. Ashley Lopez, NPR News.
Stocks closed higher today. The Dow is up 227 points. This is NPR News. A car bomb exploded in Moscow today, killing a Russian general, the third such senior military officer in a year. Investigators suspect Ukraine is behind the attack. Ukrainian officials have not yet commented. It's the holiday season, and that usually means lots of Chinese tourists in Japan. But this year, a diplomatic spat between the two means Chinese travel to Japan is down.
Hell yeah!
Fang reports.
A flight tracking app shows about 4 dozen flights from China to places in Japan have been canceled for the next 2 weeks. Beijing has warned citizens traveling to Japan may not be safe, causing its tourism agencies
massive win.
Group tours in the last
Massive
month.
win for Japan. Total Japan victory.
Cancellations on flights to Japan up until the end of this year. China is one of Japan's biggest sources of tourism, but Beijing has taken issue with remarks from Japan's new prime minister over Taiwan. That's the island that China hopes to one day control. Since then, China's also put some bans back on Japanese seafood imports and canceled some Japanese concerts and films from being shown in China. Emily Fang, NPR News.
Singer-songwriter Barry Manilow announced today he's been diagnosed with lung cancer and is pausing his concert tour. He says he expects to feel better by February because he won't need radiation or chemotherapy after surgery. He says he'll just need chicken soup and I Love Lucy reruns. I'm Nora Rahm, NPR News in Washington.
Recalling a product because it's unsafe is complicated and it is costly.
Sending out notification, collecting physically the recall product back, destroying it. Usually the highest cost, though, involves the loss of business.
I'm Kai Rizdal, the anatomy of a product recall, next time on Marketplace.
Tonight at 7 on Public Radio 89.5 and online at publicradiotulsa.org.
Support for Public Radio Tulsa is provided by the George Kaiser Family Foundation, partnering with Justice Link Tulsa, a one-stop hub that connects individuals impacted by the criminal legal system with services such as basic needs, benefits enrollment, and housing. More at justicelinkTulsa.org.
Public Radio 89.5, KWGS HD1 Tulsa. National Public Radio in HD from the University of Tulsa.
Support for NPR comes from the station and from the Wallace Foundation, an independent, nonpartisan research foundation collaborating with grantees and partners in the arts, school leadership, and youth development. More at wallacefoundation.org. From Jarl and Pamela Mohn, focusing on civil liberties, foster youth, public radio, and the arts. And from the William T. Grant Foundation, supporting research to improve the lives of young people at wtgrantfdn.org.
From NPR News, this is All Things Considered. I'm Elsa Chang in Culver City, California.
And I'm Juana Summers in Washington. A record number of lawmakers are calling it quits ahead of the midterm elections next year. More than 40 people in the House won't be running for re-election in their current seats, but more than a dozen former members from both parties told NPR congressional correspondent Barbara Sprunt that legislative stagnation and low morale aren't new. They've been building over time.
Democrat Jim Cooper of Tennessee has seen Congress go through a lot. He was first elected during the Reagan administration and retired 2 years ago. And he has a pretty blunt diagnosis for the House.
Congress is in a coma. It has a pulse, but not many brain waves.
And the proof, he says, is a historic 43-day shutdown where members of the House were sent back home. But Cooper says this is about more than just a shutdown.
The Constitution intended Congress to be the most important branch of the government. But now Congress is so functionless, it's taken itself out of the game.
He's not alone in that concern. Former members say Congress is not fulfilling its core constitutional duties, like declaring war, power of the purse, and oversight of the executive branch. They say executive overreach has been happening over time, but it's gotten worse under President Trump, who has gone further than past presidents to usurp congressional power.
I love Congress.
Let's get back to Truckin.
It pains me what has become of it.
That's Daniel
Turn up the radio.
Lipinski, an Illinois Democrat. He recently met with current members who said they're upset that the power in Congress is increasingly top-down.
The Speaker's office will tell a committee chair, this is what we want to see in this bill, this is what we don't want in this bill. And there's just a lot of frustration over that amongst members because they know that's where they can have an impact. And if the committees aren't working, then they don't have an opportunity to be a legislator.
Wisconsin Republican Reed Ribble agrees.
Being a member of the House of Representatives today is more like an honorary position with no actual authority whatsoever.
Because of Senate budget rules, increasingly the majority party tries to cram as much of its agenda into big bills. And if a measure isn't in it, it's hard for it to succeed
big, beautiful
later.
bill.
And Ribble says in the meantime, the House just votes on other bills they know have no real future.
I got tired of just...
Well, like condemning Nick Fuentes.
We're never going to be taken up by the Senate. That we're all pretend.
Members say the job has a personal toll, too. Here's Fred Upton, a Michigan Republican.
If you're in a district like mine, 650 miles away from D.C., you're gone half the time. So you're missing, birthdays, school events, reading the paper, or taking a walk with your spouse.
Michigan Democrat Dan Kildee says there's always been trade-offs.
Many of us were willing to do that because we saw a purpose. You can actually feel like at the end of a week or end of a month, you can look at what you did.
What an idiot.
You made a difference in somebody's life, and it was you making it happen. Whereas now it's much more difficult to see that.
Adding to this,
nothing ever happens.
Lawmakers. The Capitol Police estimates it investigated 14,000 threats against members this year alone.
People threatening lawmakers like they're actually doing things.
was the sheriff of our county.
Like, bro, what's the point? They aren't doing anything. Nothing
so
ever
I had a level of
happens.
security at least when I was with my husband, that I didn't have to pay for. That those are the realities of what families have to live with, what elected officials have to live with. And you have to make a decision, are you okay with that?
Democrat Anna Eshoo of California says the rise of threats has tracked with the rise of hyper-partisanship, something she says makes the work of Congress even harder.
I got to the point where I wanted to have a
You're acting like all this is new.
When I approached
They're acting like it's new. This has been going on for decades. This was before my time.
Something that I felt like I needed to say that.
Members say it's all of these things combined, the gridlock, the threats, the lack of bipartisanship, that creates an environment that leads to people leaving. But Cooper, the longtime Tennessee Democrat, says despite all these challenges, he still encourages people to run for Congress.
We need more good people to run, and it takes energy, it takes caring.
Everyone knows, like, the people running for positions of power are not the kind of people you want in power.
NPR News.
NPR staff traveled a lot this year. Sometimes it was for work, and sometimes it was just for fun. We saw everything from pristine wilderness to strange roadside attractions. So we thought, why don't we tell you all about it? We have put together a travel guide that you can now find on NPR.org. NPR's James Dubeck is here to tell us all about it.
I'm not going on NPR.org.
So
I don't care.
Your pitch, right?
Dude, I don't care about your travel guide.
Has ever done a travel guide? Tell us what it's like. What is this thing?
Dude, I don't care about your travel guide.
To tell me if they went someplace interesting, and I got a lot of cool responses. People did a lot of scenic hikes. They found really niche museums. They went to festivals that I certainly had never heard of before.
And I see that you grouped the travel guide into broad categories. Let's start with the category on outdoorsy stuff.
Yeah, we've got a lot of good recommendations for hiking. One area with scenic overlooks and waterfalls is the Dolly Sods Wilderness in West Virginia. It's the highest plateau in the Appalachian Mountains, and there's some unique rock formations there.
Oh, cool. Well, I love hiking, but what if you want to enjoy the great outdoors while sitting down?
Yeah, one of our colleagues went kayaking in the Nolichucky River Gorge.
You get in your car and just drive.
He said he saw a really stunning landscape and some raging rapids. And there was one other place I want to mention. It's the road to Hana in Hawaii. It runs for about 65 miles around eastern Maui. And NPR's Ashley Westerman went there. She said there's a huge variety of what you can see.
You would drive through a tunnel of forest and then suddenly shoot out onto this hairpin curve that puts you on cliffs hundreds of feet above the ocean.
I love it. Okay, but what if you're more of an indoor kind of person?
Yeah, we've got some options there too. If you're in New York City, NPR's Lucas Chen recommended the Shigeko Kubota Video Art Foundation. Kubota was a pioneer in video art in the 1970s, and now this loft space is preserved from when she lived and worked there. Here's Lucas telling me about one of the large sculptures he saw.
It's just like these several mirrors and monitors that are all moving in sequence. So there's just a lot of bright lights and moving videos and motion integrated into these sculptures.
And then going south, there's Mardi Gras World in New Orleans. It's a warehouse where the company Kern Studios makes these elaborate, colorful floats with wild sculptures for Mardi Gras.
Yeah, I get down
We also heard about fun oddities, like, for example, there's a giant chest of drawers in High Point, North Carolina.
A chest of drawers, like a big dresser.
Yeah.
Okay, and I see that you also have a section here on annual events. What stood out there?
So the favorite thing I learned about might be
how long till this damn travel guide?
Point Pleasant, West Virginia. It's dedicated to this mysterious humanoid winged creature that people said they saw in the 1960s. But now it's just become a big celebration of the paranormal. NPR's Doug Chappell said it's a festival that doesn't take itself too seriously.
People just kind of dress in whatever they want. It didn't have to just be Mothman, just some wild thing.
Yes, I know about the Mothman festival. That caught me off guard. I did not see that coming.
And we've got other recommendations too, like festivals for sheep and wool and the pawpaw.
Wow.
Gotta get some pawpaw fruit. That is NPR's James Dubeck. You can find a lot more in the NPR Travel Guide on NPR.org. Thank you so much, James.
Thanks.
I was like, I did not give a shit about that travel guide. Then they brought up the fucking Mothman festival. Like, bro, what?
You're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News. GLP-1 injectable drugs like Wegovy and Zepbound have transformed obesity treatment as well as some patients' bodies, but not everyone loses lots of weight. NPR's Yuki Noguchi reports on the many reasons why.
Dude, just use stimulants.
Anna Olsen's earliest notions of herself.
Dude, just use stimulants. Get on nicotine, get on caffeine, take caffeine pills.
Her obesity began in toddlerhood and ran in her family.
Toddlerhood.
Chronic hunger hard to satiate. Dozens of diet, drug, and exercise regimens didn't work. Olsen was told,
stimulants.
You gotta just eat less, you gotta eat less, you gotta do this. And I'm kind of like, well, that's what I'm doing now.
Just take stimulants.
Well, you just gotta eat less.
In fact, obesity is far more complex. It has many biological and behavioral factors that must be identified, then addressed.
99% of the time, that's just not true.
Genetic testing indicated she likely has several genetic and hormonal factors setting her hunger and satiety sensors out of whack. One of the GLP-1 drugs, Ozempic, worked briefly, but it turned out another, Zepbound, better recalibrated Olsen's hormone imbalance.
Fucking move.
It was only when she started tackling her specific
Yes, I know I'm tired.
that Olsen began losing lots of weight, 65 pounds to date.
And I've been able to keep it off.
Use of the GLP-1 drugs is set to explode as they become cheaper with more variations and in pill form. Get ready. Within a few years, doctors say, there will also be ways to determine an individual's obesity factors. That would allow them to target the root causes of obesity the same way chemotherapies can target specific cancers. Anna Olsen says this personalization was key. Now 36, Olsen says she's closer to her dream of traveling further afield of her native Minneapolis.
Be able to walk around and see and do things. When I was like more overweight, there was absolutely no way that I could do that.
Dr. Lydia Alexander is past president of the Obesity Medicine Association. She says people's response to GLP-1s reveals just how different obesity is for each person.
Not everyone derives that obesity in the same way.
I'm talking about like the majority. Dude, just talk about the majority. Like, why are we talking about like 5 people?
The molecular shape of their hormone receptors can affect the drug's efficacy.
The medication.
Like, what, 1 out of 100 fat asses are.
And Alexander says, in all instances, adaptations in lifestyle are critical for a full and lasting response. The problem, Dr. Jennifer Manny-Guler says, is GLP-1s raised people's expectations for weight loss. Manny-Guler, a Harvard metabolic disease specialist, says roughly half of those who take GLP-1 drugs lose 15% or more of their weight.
The problem is because the potential of those drugs is so incredible for that half, everyone who takes them thinks they're going to be in the half that have that experience.
Manny-Guler says what's often forgotten is that obesity is a chronic, lifelong condition.
One tool does not work for each person, and one tool often is not.
I have no idea what happened there. Let's see if that fixes it. Hopefully it does. Right there, fixed it.
Let's do this.
Yeah, get over it. I gotta turn back on the radio.
Still set rules like time limits. Guthrie says decisions should not be made without hearing the public. Lawmakers will consider the bill when the session resumes in February. The Oklahoma Ethics Commission is canceling its plan to revamp the state's online campaign finance reporting system after months of delays. Lionel Ramos Post reports it means the pressure to get any reporting system in order before the next year is on.
Candidates, elected officials, political action committees, and lobbyists are all required to register through an online portal called Guardian. But the nonprofit newsroom NonDoc reports various rollout delays on the new system. Guardian 2.0 have strained the commission responsible for monitoring elected officials' finances. Commission members are now hoping to reinstate the old software if possible. Lawmakers have already shelled out $2 million for the new system, so a lawsuit to recover those tax dollars may be in order. The commission has retained Attorney General Gettner Drummond as legal counsel in that endeavor. In Oklahoma City, I'm Lionel Ramos.
Our weather forecast in the Tulsa area, the low tonight is going to be around 55 degrees. Tomorrow on Tuesday, the high is popping up to 76 degrees. That's about 10 degrees warmer than the high today. And it's going to get a little bit warmer. On Wednesday, the high is going to be near 78 degrees, and likewise on Christmas, which could break records set in 1922. This is KWGS News in Tulsa.
News. This is All Things Considered. I'm Elsa Chang.
And I'm Juana Summers. If we're taking stock of winners and losers in 2025, science is on the list of losers. The Trump administration upended federal funding for all kinds of scientific pursuits. NPR health and science correspondents Rob Stein and Katie Riddle have come to talk about the implications of these cuts. Hi to both of you.
Hey, Juana. What kind of scientific
So let's start if we can with just a little history of science in America.
Tell us.
My understanding is that World War II was a turning point in this country's investment in science. Katie, tell us a little bit more about
that.
Yeah, that's right. You know, at the turn of the 20th century, there wasn't necessarily a
Who the hell was this made for?
Government.
This made for like
Around
idiots.
the time, like you said, of World War II. Right. As part of the war effort, the U.S. plowed money into scientific research, and it led to advancements like penicillin becoming widely available and the development of the first nuclear weapons. I talked to this
made for
historian
idiots.
at Berkeley, Patrick McRae.
Yeah, World War II resulted in nuclear weapons. Like, bro, what?
All
right, fuck you,
He wrote a
retard.
report calling on the U.S. to increase significantly investments, and that is what we did.
Health, economy, and national security. Those are the three main things that science provided for us after 1945, and those, not surprisingly, were the three main things.
Oh, wow.
that Bush
Nuclear
argued for in
weapons
his report
wouldn't have
that
existed
science would
without
provide.
World War II.
Today,
Like,
the U.S. is
how
the biggest
stupid
investor in research and
like, who's
development
the
in world.
audience?
This investment has led to tremendous breakthroughs, like the foundation of the internet and genetic medicine.
Rob, with everything we've seen this year, is there a sense that the country's commitment to science is in doubt?
Yeah, many people who Katia and I talked to for this reporting expressed grave concerns that this grand American scientific experiment is suffering irreparable damage. Here's Bruce Alberts from the
they
University
called
of
it an
California, San
experiment.
Francisco. He ran the National Academy of
Freudian
Sciences
slip.
for more than a decade.
It's very tragic, and it's very distressing for everybody who cares about U.S. prosperity and U.S. leadership in the world. It's just, shooting ourselves in the foot.
Let's now dig into some of the details. Rob, you have been covering the National Institutes of Health, which is, of course, the largest public funder of biomedical science in the world. Bring us up to speed, if you can, about what's been happening there.
It's been a tumultuous, traumatic year, not just for the scientists at the NIH itself, but also for many of the thousands of scientists around the world whose work lives and dies on NIH funding. The NIH staff of about 20,000 was cut by thousands. Many of those left behind are frightened, angry, and demoralized, and billions of dollars in grants to study everything from, vaccines and infectious diseases to diabetes and cancer.
This segment's stupid, so I'm just gonna go get
How are
myself a drink.
staffers coping with all of this?
It's been rough. Sylvia Joe manages grants at the National Cancer Institute. She told me about getting anonymous internal emails terminating research just because it might mention something that sounds like diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. She's not speaking on behalf of the agency.
What we call drone attacks coming from above. No names, no email addresses. There's no accountable human being that we know of. So to have this just like attack from above, it's just crazy. And it's just absolutely soul crushing. So that's why I eventually made the decision to leave. I just, can't take it anymore.
She's leaving the NIH next month after 18 years.
I have to say, it's really striking to hear her describe this as soul-crushing. Is that something that you're hearing from other people as well?
Oh, absolutely. I asked Dr. Francis Collins about this. He ran the NIH for a dozen years through Democratic and Republican administrations.
What was done this year was basically move fast and break things without a whole lot of interest in what the consequences might be. I just find it heartbreaking.
And that's a pretty widely held view.
Katia, you've covered other federal agencies this year. Where else has science been disrupted under this administration?
The chaos and tumult that Rob is describing, that has been widespread across nearly every federal agency that is engaged in science. The National Science Foundation, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, or NASA, even the Department of Veterans Affairs has seen studies disrupted and major research projects put into limbo with staffing freezes and ongoing funding uncertainty. At NSF alone, there were more than 1,500 grants canceled, many of them projects related to DEI. That represents more than $1 billion in funding.
So, Rob, what do Trump administration officials have to say about all of this?
They say the nation's scientific institutions, including medical and public health agencies like the Food and Drug Administration, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and yes, even the NIH, desperately need shaking up. I talked about this with Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. He's the NIH director. He told me he knows morale suffered, but argues he's turned that around.
Are we talking about something else now?
The NIH.
Some changes have happened at the NIH.
The NIH
again. Long overdue. Changes to change the culture of the NIH to fund more innovative science, be less risk averse.
Still on the science.
Scientific projects would fund. Because life expectancy in this country has been flatlined since 2010. The research ideas that we've had, I mean, there are a lot of amazing innovations, but they have not translated over to better health for Americans.
And he chafes at suggestions that the White House or Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. have politicized the NIH.
Secretary Kennedy has not asked me to put my thumb on the scales of any scientific projects to say you must have this scientific project come out this way or that way. I think that would be a red line. I have not seen that from Secretary Kennedy or the President.
Dr. Bhattacharya argues the U.S. remains a biomedical beacon.
You're lying if you don't think that happens.
I think the future is bright. I mean, there's still no better place on earth to do biomedical science. If you're a young scientist in this country, this is still by far the very best place on earth to do science.
So that's the view from the top at NIH, but I wonder, what are you hearing from young scientists? Do they agree that this is still the best place to be?
A lot of the scientists I talked to do not. I spoke with one young scientist named Brandon Coventry, and he's not sure. He is a recipient of grant funding from NIH, some of it which was recently revoked. He grew up here in a small town in Illinois. He's now at the University
it is kind of funny to think someone's gonna think this is just like
that could help people with
Uzi stream, and I'm just listening to public radio bitching about it.
He's looking to start his own lab, take a tenure track position somewhere, and really put down roots. He says after watching what's happened this year, he does not trust that the United States is going to be a sustainable place to do this.
And we've lost that sort of pipeline and certainty of the pipeline that's really been a staple irregardless of what administration has been in office. Like, this is the first time where that's just been out of whack.
So, Katia, what's he doing?
Yeah, he's considering leaving the country, possibly for Canada or somewhere else. He says this desire to leave
bro, let's go to the place that kills your citizens.
I think
let's go to the place where they just euthanize mentally ill children. Yeah, totally. What a great place for science.
Places where we can do that.
Coventry says even if the money spigot is turned back on in a future administration, it's going to take more than that to rebuild his faith in the system.
And you know, one of the bigger question is whether the trust in this grand bargain that made America the greatest scientific powerhouse has been fractured beyond repair.
NPR Health and Science correspondents Rob Stein and Katia Riddle. Thanks to both of you.
You bet.
Thanks, Juana.
We're going to talk about something else.
This is All Things Considered from NPR News. Support for NPR.
You don't hate NPR enough.
And from Progressive Insurance with Snapshot, a personalized program that bases rates
Progressive
on
Insurance,
at Progressive.com. Not available in California or from all agents. From the estate of Joan B. Kroc, whose bequest serves as an enduring investment in the future of public radio and seeks to help NPR produce programming that meets the highest standards of public service in journalism and cultural expression. From the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, recognizing extraordinarily creative individuals whose ideas, solutions, and discoveries expand people's expectations of what's possible. macfound.org. And from the Doris Duke Foundation.
Recalling a product because it's unsafe is complicated and it is costly.
Sending out notification, collecting physically the recall product back, destroying it. Usually the highest cost, though, involves the loss of business.
I'm Kai Rizdal, the anatomy of a product recall next time on Marketplace.
That's so boring.
Tonight at 7 on Public Radio 89.5 and online at publicradiotulsa.org.
Support for Public Radio Tulsa is provided by Philbrook Museum of Art, presenting Festival 2025, a family-friendly holiday experience of lights at Philbrook. Santa, music, s'mores by the fire, and more. Select nights November 28th through January 3rd. More at philbrook.org.
A listener-supported service of the University of Tulsa. Public Radio 89.5. KWGS.
What the hell is Tulsa?
Tulsa.
President Trump views the world in spheres of influence. And for the United States, we're the major power in the Western Hemisphere. And he's really acted on that.
President Trump is reshaping U.S. foreign policy through an America First lens.
For Monday, December 22nd,
no,
this is all
not.
things considered from NPR News.
Summers.
And I'm Elsa Chang. Western Sudan is once again engulfed in a bloody and brutal civil war.
We hear from an International Rescue Committee worker who recently visited a Sudanese refugee camp.
500,000 people have run for their lives and now live on straw and flimsy material shelters in one of the largest camps I've ever seen.
And the battle between Netflix and Paramount over Warner Brothers Discovery continues.
Historically, many of these mergers haven't worked. They didn't really understand what they were buying. We understand these assets that we're buying.
Now the news.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Louise Giovoni. A federal judge has ruled that migrants who were deported in March to a Salvadoran detention center were not given due process. He's ordered the U.S. government facilitate their return. NPR's Jasmine Garst reports.
In March of this year, migrants who were being held in a detention center in Texas were sent to CCON, a notorious prison in El Salvador. In order to send them, the Trump administration invoked the 1798 Alien Enemies Act, a rarely used wartime power. They were accused, without evidence, of being members of Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua. A federal judge has now ordered the government facilitate 6 of these men's ability to obtain a hearing, writing, quote, "Our law requires no less." He also certified the group as a class, so the case brought by the 6 men could represent all of those who were removed on March 15th. He gave the administration until January 5th to comply. Jasmine Garst, NPR News.
More than a dozen staff members at the Heritage Foundation have left the influential conservative group. They're joining a think tank founded by President Trump's first vice president, Mike Pence. NPR's Sarah McKemmon has details.
The Heritage Foundation has recently had to grapple with the boundaries of the conservative movement and the role of right-wing influencers who promote anti-Semitism and other extremist ideas. Advancing American Freedom, a group founded by former Vice President Mike Pence, says it's hired more than a dozen former
Advancing American Freedom wants to ban speech.
And data teams. In a statement, Pence says they bring a, quote, deep commitment to the Constitution and conservative movement. Heritage, meanwhile, issued a statement accusing some of the staff members who left of disloyalty. A task force focused on fighting anti-Semitism recently cut ties with Heritage over related concerns. Sarah McKemmon.
You aren't gonna say what those related concerns are. You're not gonna say it's because like they refuse to condemn Tucker.
Snow and some wintry
You're not gonna say that.
Are hidden the forecast. Aisha Diaz, AAA spokesperson, says the roads will be crowded between now and New Year's.
We only look at domestic travel when we're talking about the forecast, and more than 122 million Americans traveling is going to set a new record. We keep building on previous records over the holidays.
Another atmospheric river is leaving torrential rain in the west. In Northern California, there have been water rescues amid flooded roads. The National Weather Service is also forecasting heavy mountain snow in the Sierra Nevada.
California
Forecasters say snow and mixed wind
feels like a place people are just not supposed to live with these wildfires.
The heaviest snow likely to be across Maine. On Wall Street today, the Dow closed up 227 points. The Nasdaq gained 121. The S&P 500 closed up 43 points. This is NPR News in Washington. The Food and Drug Administration has approved the Wegovy pill, a drug designed to assist in weight loss and the maintenance of lower weight. Novo Nordisk says the pill is the first oral GLP-1 therapy approved by federal regulators for weight management. An activist group says it has scraped millions of music files and data from Spotify, the world's largest streaming service. The group plans to release the files online. NPR's Isabella Gomez-Sarmiento has more.
The open source engine Anna's Archive says it extracted metadata for 256 million tracks from Spotify, all of which is now available online. Metadata typically includes information like a song's artist, title, genre, producers, and other identifying information. The activist group also said it scraped 86 million music audio files, which it plans.
Did the radio just fucking break?
Scraping, and that it is implementing safeguards to prevent piracy and copyright infringement. Isabella Gomez-Sarmiento.
Copyright.
The oldest working National Park Service ranger has died. Betty Reed Suskin was 104, late in life at age 85. She was hired as an interpretive ranger at the Rosie the Riveter World War II Homefront National Historical Park. In Richmond, California, she helped shape creation of the site to honor the millions of Americans who worked in defense. I'm Louise Schiavone, NPR News, Washington.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance. Progressive is looking for dedicated and forward-thinking individuals to join their growing team. More information, including application, at progressive.com/careers.
Support for Public Radio Tulsa is provided by contributing listeners like you and by Green Country Habitat for Humanity, celebrating the holidays and helping local families open the door to stable, affordable home ownership in the year ahead. Details at greencountryhabitat.org.
Public Radio in HD from the University of Tulsa. Public Radio 89.5, KWGS HD1, Tulsa.
From NPR News, this is All Things Considered. I'm Elsa Chang in Culver City, California.
And I'm Juana Summers in Washington. From the first days of his second term, it was clear President Trump had an aggressive approach to how he would wield American power abroad.
Yeah, totally.
He's used tariffs as a weapon against allies, secured the release of hostages from Gaza, cozied up to Russian President Vladimir Putin, and launched a pressure campaign against the Venezuelan government of Nicolas Maduro. And here, White House correspondent Franco Ordonez has more on Trump's busy year and how he's reshaped U.S. foreign policy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President-elect of the United States, the Honorable Donald John Trump.
On his first days in office, President Trump threatened to take back control of the Panama Canal, seize Greenland, and turn Canada into the 51st state. Reflections of his fascination with expansionism and foreshadowing his determination to carve up the world between the three major powers.
America will reclaim its rightful place as the greatest, most powerful, most respected nation on earth, inspiring the awe and admiration of the entire world. A short time from now, we are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
Unlike those who came
that was
before
just
him,
funny.
Trump rarely speaks about America's responsibilities of global leadership. He disdains alliances and paints European allies as weak. Stuart Patrick served in the George W. Bush State Department and is now at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace.
Like, they're attacking the aspects I agree with, but like they won't do anything about whatever, like the actual issues.
Has represented a significant departure from Trump 1.0. It's far more of a revolutionary approach to international order, and the upheaval that he's created is just monumental.
Those shifts have stunned Western partners who have struggled to balance maintaining transatlantic ties while defending their own interests. Ursula
like keeping hate speech laws.
The European Commission has proclaimed that, quote, the West as we know it no longer exists.
Europe did not start this confrontation. We think it is wrong.
Trump has also had to push back against domestic allies who have accused him of spending too much time abroad and straying from his America First priorities. The White House told me Trump's acting on his
we actually need to save Europe.
To advance American interests, delivering fair trade deals, pushing allies to increase defense spending, killing narco-terrorists, those are their words, while also ending global conflicts to make the world safer.
I think it is
honestly, I do agree with a lot of his foreign policy outside of Israel and a bit out.
Beginning of his administration,
I'm not sure how I feel about Ukraine.
Lori Esposito Murray is a veteran in diplomatic circles who is advised.
My game just crashed. My game just crashed. Let's reboot this.
powers, and for the United States, we're the major power in the Western Hemisphere, and he's really acted on that.
Benjamin Gadan led the Venezuela portfolio in the Obama White House. He says it's clear that the U.S. seeks to reassert its dominance in the region over other actors who have gained influence.
All right, bro.
One thing that's notable is that China became a competitor to the United States and Latin America, not by moving an aircraft carrier into the region, but through trade and investment in infrastructure and being an appealing partner for all these countries.
He says the U.S. should be working to be the partner of choice and not the partner who is feared. Franco Ordonez, NPR News.
Earlier this month, President Trump announced a peace deal between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. But fighting has not stopped. At the same time, Washington also signed an economic agreement with Congo. The deal gives U.S. companies first access to Congo's fabled mines, a sector that has long been dominated by China. Emmett Livingstone has more from Kinshasa and a warning to listeners. You will hear gunfire in this piece.
You will hear gunfire in this piece.
The country in the heart of Africa produces over 70% of the world's cobalt, and it's the second largest producer of copper.
Bro, how's that
it also
warning?
has tantalum, niobium, and lithium, minerals
like, who the hell is watching it? Who's the audience? Like,
is keen to capitalize.
The softest people alive?
Take out some of the rare earth, take out some of the assets and pay, and everybody's going to make a lot of money.
That was President Trump on December 4th on the expansive economic deal his administration had just signed with Congo. No major U.S. company operates in Congo, deterred by instability and corruption. The economic deal aims to change that. Among its most significant provisions, U.S. firms get first dibs on some Congolese mines up for sale, which could block new Chinese investment. The deal also lays out ways to guarantee stable supplies of critical minerals, including cobalt, to the U.S.
Here.
And it commits Congolese state-owned companies to ship minerals via the Lobito corridor, a US-backed railway from Congo's mining region to the Atlantic coast in Angola.
You know, the DRC has effectively handed the US a blank check in the mining sector.
Jack McKenna is a political economist at Congolese think tank Eruteli.
That doesn't just raise questions about control, sovereign control over the mining sector. It also kills the very idea of free competition, especially for other competitors like China.
For Mukena, the deal is first and foremost about US competition with China. Cobalt, for example, is crucial not just for batteries, but for military tech, fighter jet engines and missiles. American officials say the deal will benefit everyone. In return, Congo's government has also promised to simplify its tax regime to attract investment.
C'est un tournant historique.
André Wameso, Congo's central bank governor, described the new relationship with the US as a historic turning point. The country hopes to attract billions in investment, but also wants security guarantees from Washington. But in eastern Congo, fighting continues between government forces and M23 rebels backed by Rwanda, a conflict rooted in the Rwandan genocide 3 decades ago. Despite the Trump-brokered peace deal, the violence goes on. Without a resolution, the future of the US-Congo economic deal remains uncertain. For NPR News, I'm Emmett Livingstone in Kinshasa.
It's just a random crash.
It is a holiday tradition for many Jewish families ordering Chinese takeout on Christmas. A group of podcasters at Edgemont Junior Senior High School in Scarsdale, New York, wanted to know where this tradition came from. Students Alan Chan.
Yeah, you know what? I do too. I never heard about that. Like, what?
For NPR Student Podcast Challenge.
What's the deal with Jewish people eating Chinese food on Christmas? I'm Max Wang, and today I'm here to discuss that strange and beautiful connection between Jewish American and Chinese American culture.
Beautiful.
Between Chinese restaurants being
the game actually does crash here. Great. Great. Found another crash point, and this time it's in Texas. Nowhere is safe. After this delivery, I might just go to the old save, because holy shit. Pretty sure it's like that area. You know what? I'll take that. Like, I just want to get this done with.
Drive safe.
Try to remove coast to coast. See if I can.
To break down cultural barriers and just enjoy some good food during the holidays and have a good time.
You know, Jews and Chinese Americans as minorities, I think, have an interesting
Clearly just because they're minorities.
You know, we as two different minority communities within America.
That's really it.
Recognize the importance of keeping tradition and culture. We think
That's
about
literally it.
Some of the difficulties with being immigrants and being recognized as immigrants at different moments in our time as Americans or our parents or grandparents, and also the amazing gift that America offers all immigrants.
Support for NPR's Student Podcast Challenge comes from Progressive Insurance. Progressive is looking for individuals in a variety of career fields who want to help build a culture of inclusiveness. More information, including application, at progressive.com/careers.
Exit right.
This is NPR News.
This is KWGS.
It's not as fun as
Caldwell.
It's not fun like the Japanese fried chicken tradition.
Getting warmer. On Christmas, the lows will be in the low 60s. Daytime highs in the mid to upper 70s. We are looking at 78 degrees in Tulsa. The record is 73 degrees in 1922. So we could break that old Christmas record. Many Tulsa area restaurants will be open on this warm Christmas day for those who want to skip cooking. Of course, 24-hour spots like Waffle House and Denny's will be open. Holiday buffets in the area include the Chalkboard and the Hard Rock Hotel. If you want something international, Wan Korean Barbecue and Hot Pot India Palace Mandarin Taste and the New Royal Dragon say they will all be open. Talking about spending money, the Oklahoma State Board of Equalization approved about $12 billion for lawmakers to appropriate to state agencies for fiscal year 2027. While revenue outlooks appear stable, they aren't high enough to slash income taxes. Last year, Oklahoma lawmakers approved an automatic income tax cut if the state meets certain surplus revenue targets. This year, the state is about $1 billion short of the threshold to activate what would have been the first 0.25% income tax under the new law. The estimated available appropriations for FY 2027 are down nearly $700 million. Still, Governor Kevin Stitt says he's optimistic because recurring revenues are actually up.
Our income is up over $300 million. Savings account is still $3.7 billion.
Stitt said during a short press gaggle, most of the difference in spending authority can be attributed to depleted state-owned cash accounts rather than lost recurring revenue. This is KWGS News in Tulsa.
PR comes from this station and from Heifer International, where people can donate animal gifts to families living in poverty. Whether it's a goat, chicken, or cow, each gift is intended to help families earn a sustainable income. Heifer.org/NPR.
Go straight on.
And from Procter & Gamble, maker of Z-Quill, with a range of products designed to relieve occasional sleeplessness to help people fall asleep. Learn more at zquill.com. This is NPR.
From NPR News, this is All Things Considered. I'm Elsie
Go
Chang.
straight on.
And I'm Juana Summers. Bob Kitchen leads emergency humanitarian programs for the International Rescue Committee, and he's
gotta go
just
through here
returned from
because,
California.
Made it through to Tooele, where 500,000 people have run for their lives and now live in straw, flimsy material shelters in one of the largest camps.
This channel is so dumb.
Western Sudan is once again engulfed in a bloody and brutal civil war. That refugee camp, Tooele, is where hundreds of thousands of Sudanese people have taken refuge from the violence.
It sits in a dust bowl surrounded by mountains and stretches as far as the eye can see. I drove across it this morning, and after an hour, we still hadn't made it to the end.
Bob Kitchen described what he saw in a series of audio diaries that he shared with NPR. And a warning, the audio you are about to hear contains graphic descriptions of violence and rape against women and children.
Okay, like, bro, who cares?
Supposedly cold season.
Who is this made for?
This morning by 11.
Like, how soft can people be?
That number will be 110 every single day. It's really hot. The other thing I've noticed is there's hardly any men. I also know that women and children have been caught right in the center of this crisis and have faced significant violence. I'll share more on that tomorrow. Today, I got the chance to visit a women and girls health center in one of the camps here. We work with women before and after they give birth to make sure that they are safe and that they're able to give birth safely. The thought of having to give birth on a sandy floor in a tiny shelter surrounded by 500,000 people trying to survive is just a daunting thought, so we're here to help them. I was then briefed on an assessment that we'd just completed. We knew that when Zamzam, a camp just to the north of us, was overrun 9 months ago, many women and girls were raped. But in the last month, as Al Fasher, the state capital, fell, it seemed clear that essentially every woman and girl was raped as they escaped the city.
And Bob Kitchen is with us now. Welcome to All Things Considered.
Thanks for having me.
Bob, start if you can by telling me about someone that you met on your recent trip to Darfur who's still on your mind today.
I met this young mother. She'd seen her husband been killed So she grabbed her 3 tiny children. She was only 23 herself, but she grabbed her children and she fled south.
Barely following along anymore.
Daughter on her lap. She just received an amount of cash. We were distributing cash as a program, and she said she was going to spend it on food and she was going to spend it on drugs for her family. And one bright moment in the whole trip of otherwise just desperate need was that she told me that her daughter was called Hope.
I mean, the conditions that you've described from the refugee camp, they're harrowing and heartbreaking. What are the most immediate needs on the ground?
Well, this camp is just so far away from anywhere. It took us 3 days, but the last leg of the trip was through the mountains to get there, and that took 10 hours in a modern SUV. I'm saying that because it's a long supply line to get aid into this camp. And as a result of that, and as a result of the global cuts to humanitarian funding, collectively the humanitarian communities are only reaching 50% of food needs, 50% of water needs, 50% of the number of toilets in there. So 500,000 people are literally struggling to stay fed, to stay healthy, to stay everything just to survive.
Yep.
I heard you mention in the audio that we played that there are not many men there. Where did the men go? What has happened to them?
So women and children, non-fighting age children, sometimes were allowed to leave Al-Fasher. This is the major city, about 60 kilometers to the north, but men were never allowed to leave. Yale University released a report last week suggesting that 60,000 people were killed in Al-Fasher, and there's still 150,000 people missing, unaccounted for, and I can attest to that. My colleagues, Sudanese colleagues who work for the IRC, so many of them are still calling 10 times a day trying to get through to their loved ones, with just clinging on to the hope that they're still alive out there.
You also discussed hearing extensive reports of sexual violence from the women in the camp. Can you talk more about how you understand the scale and severity of the sexual violence in this war to be?
It's one of the worst cases of widespread sexual violence, and the brutality of the violence is, again, amongst the worst I've ever seen. I worked in Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Congo, and then 20 years ago in Sudan. And this is up there. Reports of 6-month-old children, girls being raped in front of their family, up to elderly women of the age of 72, which is, it's an old age in Sudan. Again,
I don't even know what the point of this is.
It's terrible.
Really listening, so I don't even know what the point is.
Darfur. I understand that back in 2004, you helped set up the IRC's response in this war that killed over 250,000 people. Is there anything about this time that feels different?
I suppose that's the saddest part of my trip. No, not really. The violence is being meted out by the same armed groups. And it's the same communities, it's the same families that are being displaced after they were displaced the first time. So the cycle of violence is coming around, hitting the same families, but new generations of families who've been born into displacement camps and now having to run for their lives.
You've mentioned that the violence that's happening there, it's coming from the same groups that you've seen historically. Tell us about those people. Who is committing this violence?
Well, this time, the battle lines are clear. The violence is between the government of Sudan and then a breakaway military element called the Rapid Support Forces. Over the last 20 years, they've been funded and trained, and they've fought in different countries, and they've now become a highly equipped, highly experienced fighting force, and they now occupy nearly half of Sudan, while the government occupy the other half. So the battle lines, the sophistication of the fighting has changed, but it's the same groups that are still fighting.
Thinking back on your recent trip, were there moments that struck you particularly hard, or was there one you'd like to share with us that gave you hope?
I mean, the moments that struck me that were the hardest was just the scale of this camp. We had the opportunity to visit it's called one of the entries, and it's where new arrivals are arriving, and as I was there, there's donkeys and carts coming in all the time with people who have managed to get down this road away from the fighting and the siege that has been there for the last almost a year. So the sense that it's just getting worse was a lot for me to handle. And then in terms of hope, the Sudanese population being able to endure this level of violence and displacement is quite something, and they're brave and they're fighting to keep their families together. When we do assessments, the first need that people always identify is food, but the second one is education. They care deeply about their children. They want the next generation to live a better, more peaceful life than theirs.
Bob Kitchen, he's the Vice President of Emergencies and Humanitarian Action at the International Rescue Committee. Thank you.
Turn off bird signal.
This is All Things Considered from NPR News.
There's been a shortage of air traffic controllers in the U.S. since long before the government shutdown.
During the shutdown, we lost, 400 or 500 of our trainees that just sort of gave up during the lapse, even though we kept the school open. I think the thought of not being paid was enough to frighten them away.
What to expect for holiday travel on the next morning edition from NPR News.
Tomorrow morning from 5 to 9 on Public Radio 89.5.
Support for Public Radio Tulsa is provided by Philbrook Museum of Art, presenting the first career retrospective of Tulsa artist Patrick Gordon, featuring large floral paintings and powerful portraits. Wallflowers covers more than 50 years of the artist's career.
Trade.
Through January 3rd. More at Philbrook.org.
Like a physically easy one anyways.
This is listener-supported public radio from the University of Tulsa. Public Radio 89.5, KWGS HD1, Tulsa.
It's All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Elsie Chang.
And I'm Juana Summers. Coming up, there's very little chance of snow this week in the South.
Which made us wonder, why are so many Southerners obsessed with having a white Christmas?
Oh, I have dreamed for a white Christmas, I think, since the day I was born.
First, this news.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Nora Rahm. The Trump administration today suspended leases for 5 large-scale offshore wind projects now under construction along the East Coast.
Who cares?
The Interior Department says they presented a national security risk. It did not elaborate. It's the latest administration effort to halt this type of renewable energy project. President Trump has repeatedly called wind turbines ugly, costly, and inefficient. Abrego Garcia, the man deported to El Salvador by mistake, may continue to stay out of detention while his cases play out in various courts. NPR's Jimena Bustillo has more.
Judge Paula Zini's in Maryland extended a temporary restraining order prohibiting the Homeland Security Department from placing Abrego Garcia in immigration detention. She gave the government attorneys until later this week to explain what they'd do should she lift that order. Zini's issued the protection order earlier this month and also granted Abrego Garcia's petition to be released from custody. Abrego Garcia, who entered the U.S. illegally, had been living in Maryland but was deported to a notorious prison in El Salvador by mistake. The government eventually brought him back to the U.S. and charged him with human smuggling. Abrego Garcia denies those allegations and is fighting this and his immigration case across several courts. Jimena Bustillo, NPR News, Washington.
21 states and the District of Columbia are suing the Trump administration over the funding of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Its money comes from Federal Reserve earnings to protect it from politics, but it's up to the administration to request the money. The acting head of the agency, Russell Vogt, has refused to do so. The Department of Justice is suing the District of Columbia's police department over D.C. gun laws. The city bans the AR-15 semi-automatic firearms and requires anyone seeking to own a gun register it with the police. The Justice Department says this violates the Second Amendment to the Constitution.
It does.
This is NPR News in Washington.
All gun control
Novo Nordisk announced today the Food and Drug Administration has approved the use of its Wegovy medication as a pill, the first oral version of the weight loss drug. The company says it can help patients lose weight as much as the original Wegovy injection. Arizona Arizona Attorney General Chris May's office has agreed to drop charges against one of the state's fake electors, accused of attempting to undermine the results of the 2020 presidential election. From member station KJZZ, Wayne Chutsky reports.
Former U.S. Senate candidate Jim Layman was one of 11 Arizona Republicans who signed a document falsely claiming President Trump won the state in 2020. A grand jury indicted these fake electors and several allies, including attorney Rudy Giuliani and former Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, on fraud and other felony charges. A spokesman confirms the state attorney general will drop the charges against Layman.
It's kind of weird how they're always like going, it's disproven. It's like, bro, shut the hell up.
For text messages sought by prosecutors. The Arizona
No
case
one
is now in limbo
cares.
as the state Supreme Court considers an appeal over whether it should be sent back to the grand jury. For NPR News, I'm Wayne Chutsky in Phoenix.
Jim Beam is pausing production at its bourbon distillery in Claremont, Kentucky next month. The company says it will use the time to invest in improvements. It's seen declining profits due to tariffs, a Canadian boycott, and decreased demand as Americans reduce their consumption of alcohol. I'm Nora Rahm, NPR News.
Recalling a product because it's unsafe is complicated and it is costly.
Sending out notification, collecting physically the recalled product back, destroying it. Usually the highest cost, though, involves the loss of business.
Untie Rizdal the anatomy of a product recall next time on Marketplace.
What am I hitting?
Tonight at 7 on Public Radio 89.5 and online at publicradiotulsa.org.
Support for Public Radio Tulsa is provided by Philbrook Museum of Art, presenting Festival 2025, a family-friendly holiday experience of lights at Philbrook. Santa, music, s'mores by the fire, and more. Select nights November 28th through January 3rd. More at philbrook.org.
Now in HD from the University of Tulsa, Public Radio 89.5, KWGS, HD1, Tulsa.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from BritBox, committed to helping viewers unbox the unexpected over the holidays with British TV, including original series Lindley and a new season of Karen Peary, streaming at BritBox.com. From Americans United for Separation of Church and State. Since 1946, AU has supported the First Amendment right of freedom of religion. More at au.org. And from listeners
freedom of
like
religion,
you,
but not
who donate to this NPR station.
But I was donating.
It's All Things Considered from NPR News. I'm Scott Detrow in Washington.
And I'm Elsa Chang in Culver City, California. The federal government's consumer watchdog is running out of money. That's because the Trump administration is not asking for more funds. A coalition of states is now suing over that decision, calling it unconstitutional. NPR's Camila Dombrowski has been covering all this and joins us now. Hi, Camila.
Bro, that is such a weird argument. How is it unconstitutional?
What the Trump administration is doing here, or rather not doing here.
Yeah, it's a not doing. What they're not doing is they are not requesting more money to fund the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Now, the CFPB, it exists in order to protect ordinary Americans from scams and fraud, keep an eye on banks and finance companies.
I don't get it though. Why is the argument unconstitutional? Like, yeah, it sounds bad. I won't deny that, but like, unconstitutional? Are you stupid?
Billions of dollars back to consumers who were cheated, but you know, from the perspective of the businesses that are watched by this watchdog, that scrutiny is not always welcome. The Trump administration has called the agency woke and weaponized. And Congress knew there might be political backlash to the CFPB, and it was set up for that reason to be funded in a really unusual way. It gets money directly from the Federal Reserve's earnings, so it can't get tied up in congressional debate over budgets. The money should just always be there.
Should always just be there. Wait, so then how can the Trump administration just stop requesting the money?
Well, I said that money comes from the Fed's earnings. And the Trump administration is now arguing that earnings means profit. Over the past few years, the Fed has generally had more money going out the door than in, so if it were a business, it wouldn't have any profit. And the administration is saying that means there's no money available for the CFPB, so they aren't.
And how is it unconstitutional?
And that's why a coalition of states, led by the Attorney General of New York, that's why they're suing in this lawsuit filed today.
Okay, and what is the argument that the states are making here?
Well, before I get into that, I want to know, it's not just the states that are opposing this. Congress, including the authors of the Dodd-Frank Act.
Dude, I don't care who opposes it. Like, how is it unconstitutional?
Revenue. The whole point was this was
bro,
stable
what?
funding, so why would they write it in a way that it could just go away? 5 former Fed officials have also said the very concept of profit doesn't really translate to a central bank. And then there's also a case that actually the Fed is quote-unquote profitable right now. But this lawsuit from the states, it mentions all that, but it's really making a much more fundamental point, which is that Congress gave the CFPB work to do. So if the Trump administration doesn't ask for funding, it can't do the work, which is unconstitutional, these states say. Separation of powers, right? Congress passed the law creating the CFPB. The executive branch is supposed to execute that law, is the argument.
Right, okay. Well, this lawsuit has been filed. What comes
I don't think it's unconstitutional. Like, bro,
well,
what?
We will see what the judges have to say.
You could definitely make a better argument.
Case, but in several other cases that are pending about the CFPB's future.
They obviously should get rid of it, but like,
the budget office and
what?
Now the acting head of the CFPB.
Why are the arguments always so fucking dumb?
He already tried to fire everybody, which was blocked by the courts. You know, the CFPB declined to comment for this article, for this story, but the Bureau is already.
I don't think separation of power really applies here.
It's transferring its legal work to the Department of Justice. It's halted most of its investigations into banks. And last month, the agency announced that if and when it resumes that kind of oversight, it will be more limited and more collaborative with companies. An unusual statement coming from this consumer watchdog.
That is NPR's Camila Dominowski. Thank you so much, Camila.
Thank you.
That's so dumb. Like, bro, make an argument that
2025 was a great year.
Good program,
so
not like
filled us with joy, love, reflection.
I'm not sure about its political leanings. It might be woke.
NPR's resident music critic Ann Powers, and
who knows?
Hey, how you doing, Scott?
Who fucking knows? It very well could be.
Songs of the year.
But
cannot talk about all of
the principle of it is good.
Where do you want to start?
Well, I want to start right at the beginning of 2025 because nobody in pop right now has more swag than Bad Bunny, and he released an album called Debbie Turarmas Photos in January that ruled the zeitgeist all year. And from that album, the biggest hit was a song called Ballet Inolvidable that absolutely set people dancing all year long.
If I get copyright for this, you fucking copyright my stream.
This song is one of my favorite kinds of songs. It is a dance song about dancing. It's just such a fun song. Hey, it's also about heartbreak though, I have to say, and that message comes through. But the ultimate quiet agenda of this song is to, you know, promote the beauty of Latin music and Latin culture, which is totally Benito's thing.
We're going to shift gears here. Name of this next song is kind of funny in itself. All caps and exclamation point at the end. Where is my husband?
Not easy, and either you can do it or you don't.
We gotta change it. I don't want music.
Absolutely, and then you have to question whether, you know, how much of a voice do these companies really want. I mean, they say that they do. They say that this is going to be the way that they remain distinctive. However, they are corporations. A lot of these companies are public companies, so you know they have to really kind of toe the line. And there's only so far that I'm sure their legal departments will allow them to do so. I think that's why these companies are sometimes finding a little bit more success in the entertainment space. So, you know, some are even producing their own entertainment TV shows, podcasts, a little bit away from, you know, detached from the typical day-to-day of these jobs, at these companies. But it's still entertaining and hopefully don't get them in too much trouble from a legal standpoint.
Right, and then just mentioning the entertainment thing and other, you know, social media, it's all about branded content, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And there's a few of these, you know, YouTube and Instagram and TikTok series, these micro series that are coming out that you wouldn't probably know they were funded by a brand unless you made it all the way to the end titles. So there's that going on, and it's just a different form of marketing to capture attention and to just make sure that in this world when there's a million brands out there,
it's undisclosed marketing.
They're going to be top of customers' minds when they come to make a purchase.
Brand is everything. Katie Dayton at the Wall Street Journal. Katie, thanks a lot. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.
million metric tons by the year 2030. That's about 90 million non-metric tons, should you be curious, of stuff that has a plug or a battery. But of course, one person's e-waste is another person's e-treasure. Here's today's installment of our series, My Economy.
I'm Sarai Dunsany, and I am the CEO and co-founder of the Retro Roadshow.
And I'm Huxley Dunsany, the CTO.
I'm having to find like a unbiased
Alameda, California.
news talk show.
We've been doing this.
By unbiased, I just mean it gives you the, like, just gives you the fucking facts. Like, if it's covering a bill, they're gonna fucking read the bill.
2024.
Not push a fucking agenda. Like NPR clearly is.
I started collecting vintage technology when I was a young teenager. I was super eager to get my hands on computers, video games, anything nerdy and electronic. I got this feeling that it was maybe worth holding on to as much of it as I could because there wouldn't be many examples left before long.
So the first time I ever found out about Huxley's collection was when we moved in together. I think what really brought it in for me was his passion for all of this stuff. So I bought into the, hey, let's go to the yard sale, or let's go to a thrift store. Let's see what they have. And it became really fun. It was like a treasure hunt.
Well, I gotta take a dump.
The idea for starting a pop-up museum was kind of always floating around in our minds, but it really came into existence back in 2019. A local coffee shop saw some project I was restoring online and invited us to bring the old computer I had fixed over to the coffee shop and set it up in the window. People loved it, and from then we realized that there was an actual audience for what we were into with this.
So we picked the last Wednesday of the month, and we would come in and bring in vintage computers and classic gaming consoles. I started thinking, I wonder if this could become a business.
I remember pretty clearly the first few times Sarai brought up the idea. I wanted to be thoughtful. Like, I have a day job that keeps me pretty busy, and we have a kid, but at the same time, I freaking love what we're doing. And so I kind of just said, the risk of additional stress is way totally outweighed by the potential of getting to do this really unique, fun thing with people I love. It was a no-brainer.
I just wanted to interject. You did notice that he says with people I love. So he still loves me after this.
So far, so good. Quarterly reviews are coming up.
As far as profitability, we are pretty much breaking even, but next year is definitely looking very promising. When I decided that I wanted to leave my job and focus on the Retro Roadshow full time, we gave it about 5 years. It would be a bit of a lifestyle change, right? And then plus, with Huxley being the primary breadwinner and a lot, that would add a lot of stress onto him. I mean, he's got broad shoulders and it's a lot to carry, but it's been going really well. I feel like by the time we come to 5 years, I think I'll still be doing the Retro Roadshow.
Sarai and Huxley Dunsany, they run the Retro Roadshow in Alameda, California. Vintage or modern, whatever you do, it's your stories that make this series and honestly this whole economy go, So please let us know what's going on. Marketplace.org/myeconomy. Coming up,
it can actually increase brand loyalty.
What's old is new again, but first, let's do the numbers. Dow Industrial's up 227 points today, almost 0.5%, closed at 48,362. The NASDAQ ascended 121 points, about 0.5%, 23,428. The S&P 500 up 43 points, 0.6%, 68 and 78 there. Jay Wellington Wimpy from the classic Popeye cartoons was an early proponent of buy now, pay later when he said, "I will gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today." So with those ever-rising beef prices that Kristen told us about, BNPL for burgers feels almost necessary, right? So some online price menus for burgers near Wall Street, menus that may or may not be totally accurate. The spicy jalapeno double cheeseburger, $10 at 7th Street Burger, Financial District. At the Continental Sports Lounge, you will pay 25 American simoleons for the Wick Burger, described as a brisket short rib blend with dill pickle, smoked pork belly, and Irish cheddar. You are, believe it or not, listening to Marketplace.
The Numbers is supported by Mercury, a fintech that offers banking, credit cards, and financial software. Marketplace is supported by Fidelity Investments. A dedicated advisor can help build a flexible wealth plan. Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. And by the United States Postal Service, offering holiday postage stamps for purchase at checkout at over 40,000 participating supermarkets and drugstores, and at wholesale clubs Costco, Walmart, Sam's Club, and BJ's. And by Michigan Technological University, where students study data mining, AI, and ethics to take on tomorrow's big data challenges. mtu.edu/computing.
11 minutes away from 7 o'clock here on your NPR station, News 88.7.
Jingle Bell Rock, a traditional carol, or that song where the guy kind of snaps and yells at some chipmunks. There's no escaping holiday music this time of year, and Houstonians will share some of the songs that are meaningful to them. The Houston Matters Holiday Mixtape on the next Houston Matters.
Yeah, it's coming your way tomorrow morning at 9, followed by the Texas Standard at 10 here on News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Baylor College of Medicine. With 125 years of innovation behind it, Baylor has driven progress in health and medicine through research, education, and care that push the frontiers of modern science.
Support comes from Carr, Riggs & Ingram, CPAs and Advisors, a top 25 nationally ranked full-service accounting and advisory firm offering tax, audit, accounting, consulting, and advisory services. Learn more at cricpa.com.
This is Marketplace. I'm Kai Risdall. The U.S. dollar ends the year down almost 10% against a basket of other currencies from where it was on New Year's Day. The first half of the year, especially grim. Tariffs, of course, the Fed cutting interest rates. Summer and early fall weren't too bad, stable even. But since mid-November, the greenback's been edging lower once again, and there are some signs it could keep sliding in 2026, which, as is always the case with currency fluctuations and with most other economic dynamics, to be honest, it would benefit some parts of this economy and hurt some others. Marketplace's Mitchell Hartman has that one.
Global investors plow more capital into a country, driving up its currency, when they think its economy is going to outperform others, or its central bank will offer higher interest rates, juicing their returns. That's what happened in late 2024 as the dollar rose on strong growth expectations. Then President Trump's tariffs were announced, investors got worried, and the dollar fell. And next year, here's Cornell economist Ishwar Prasad.
Logically, the dollar ought to weaken because it looks like there will be economic as well as political pressures in the U.S. to cut interest rates, while at the same time, other major central banks could be moving in the other direction.
Also, he says, the U.S. economy looks dicier than major European and Asian economies heading into 2026.
Potentially facing a rougher period ahead with the labor market softening.
Meanwhile, there's still plenty of policy uncertainty in the U.S., including about Fed independence that's undermining global investor confidence, says Gary Schlossberg at the Wells Fargo Investment Institute.
With the president demanding lower interest rates from the Federal Reserve.
Still, Schlossberg's prediction for the dollar next year runs counter to Prasad's.
We still think the dollar will be steady to slightly firmer.
Hey, ask two economists, get at least two different answers. Schlossberg thinks even as the U.S. economy weakens, others are in worse shape.
China really dependent on exports to drive growth. That's masking structural issues. In Europe, there are some fiscal uncertainties, political uncertainties.
Still, the prevailing consensus among economists does seem to be that the dollar will continue to weaken, which will likely be good for U.S. exporters, making their products more competitive abroad, but it'll contribute to inflation since so much of what we consume, from food to clothing, is imported. I'm Mitchell Hartman for Marketplace.
I'm back. What the hell is this?
Introducing Genius Bank, the award-winning...
explicitly talked about this disastrous merger and acquisition history, and they said basically, don't worry, those failures were because the companies that bought them in the past didn't understand the entertainment business, and they said basically, we won't repeat the same mistakes.
Bro, what is this? Who's this for?
Could turn out to be like The Dark Knight, a huge commercial success, but there's a big risk it looks like the last Joker movie, another Warner Brothers flop.
Greg Rosalski, thank you so much.
Do they understand why the last Joker failed?
Your inboxes weekly from the Planet Money newsletter.
Because from my understanding, it's because the director
most of the country might start
presented
the Christmas
audience.
That includes the Deep South, where they basically have no chance of this. So what's with the obsession that some Southerners have with snow?
Dude, I don't know and I don't care.
Takes us to Birmingham, Alabama, where she tried to find the answer.
Every year it's the same. December rolls around.
What is this?
We collectively lose our minds. And start thinking about
who cares?
Shopping malls like this one.
What is this?
Bring in snow machines.
Why are we covering this? Are you stupid? Why are we covering this?
Kids smile and twirl around.
Do they really think it's important? Alright, this shoot's going on a lot longer.
Is the best we can do.
We cops listen and got killed when listen.
About the weather.
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh.
New York, that's why. Pretty sure most of them come from New York anyways.
No bobtails here, yet we're all obsessed with snow. Maybe blame the music industry.
In the meadow we can build a snowman. We'll pretend that he is
I don't know, go to Alaska.
Pretend is
go
all
north.
Southerners can do. Even meteorologists
go north.
like John Oldshoe of the Alabama Weather Network.
Oh, I have dreamed for a white Christmas, I think, since the day I was born. I'm the biggest snow fan there is.
But we are not going to
move north.
Yeah, the odds are just against us.
Go
According
north.
to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric
Not like
Administration,
move, but like just
the
go on a little visit north.
Has only a 38% chance of snow on Christmas Day, and that drops to pretty much zero for the Deep South. And yet this fascination persists. Maybe blame Hollywood. Who can forget the sound of Jimmy Stewart running through the snow in It's a Wonderful Life?
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!
After a while, you start to feel left out.
What is Christmas with no snow?
Well, I'm trying to figure out why is this getting covered? I thought NPR liked to LARP as a serious news outlet, not whatever the hell this is.
Even the band Alabama falls under the spell.
Christmas in Dixie. It's snowing in the pines.
No, it's not. It's not snowing in the pines here. At least the song mentions other low snow cities like Jackson, Memphis, and Atlanta. So it's gonna have to do.
And from Fort Payne, Alabama.
And from Birmingham, Alabama.
Merry Christmas to
keep left and then turn left.
For NPR News, I'm Melanie Peoples.
Turn left.
Someone needs to break it to them that no one cares.
You're listening to All Things Considered from
NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from this station and from Luminescence Foundation. Luminescence Foundation is dedicated to shedding light on neurological research focused on Alzheimer's and Parkinson's diseases and supporting land conservation initiatives. From Imaginable Futures, funding programs in the U.S. with the goal of ensuring young children and their parents get the education they need to thrive. Learn more at imaginablefutures.com. From the Lodestar Foundation, inspired by the principle that helping those in need is a path to a happier, healthier, and more meaningful
like
life.
a non-biased station or Next American Truck
and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation at macfound.org.
I think this is a nice hybrid, like politics and trucking.
It's a fall-winter solstice celebration with a tropical flavor and the joyful seasonings of Brazil, Bulgaria, Armenia, West Africa, and Ireland. I'm John Schaefer. Join us for a wide-ranging fall-winter solstice with more than a few surprises.
Monday night at 8 here on Public Radio 89.5.
Support for Public Radio Tulsa is provided by the George Kaiser Family Foundation, partnering with Family and Children's Services Women in Recovery Program, an alternative to incarceration.
Okay, now I'm just going to focus on getting to where I'm going.
And the lives of their children. More at fcsok.org.
If I can, like, get rid of the
Radio 89.5.
Coast to Coast.
WGS HD1 Tulsa.
Marketplace is supported by Progressive Insurance with Snapshot. Learn more about Snapshot at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents.
Fun fact of the day, 1 troy ounce is about 10% heavier than 1 regular ounce. Gold is where we're going to start. From American Public Media, this is Marketplace.
Marketplace is supported by Solidigm. Today's AI ambitions require a different approach to storage. Solidigm offers solid-state storage solutions optimized for AI.
Listening to propaganda just kind of pisses me off.
Energy efficiency. Storage for AI.com.
Like, dude, you aren't
dedicated to providing software design.
Either market yourself as a commentary. Okay, bro, fuck you. Fuck you.
For creating a custom software suite. Odoo, what businesses need. And by BetterHelp, committed to supporting mental health through therapy. Clients are matched with one of 30,000 therapists and can communicate via video, chat, or phone at betterhelp.com/public.
All I remember from BetterHelp is that they were like this under this major controversy.
22nd of December. Good as always to have you along, everybody. It cost you, as of the close today in New York, a record $4,444.60 to get yourself one of the aforementioned troy ounces of gold. That is yet another record high. The safest of safe havens is up 70% for the year, 70%. And yes, there is lots going on out there to be seeking safety from. But as Marketplace's Henriette reports now to get us going, there is something else in the mix too.
A lot of market analysts think that the Federal Reserve will cut rates at least twice next year. That's based on the direction the job market and inflation appear to be heading. There are 2 reasons lower rates could make gold more interesting to investors. The first is straightforward, says Paolo Pasquariello, a finance professor at the University of Michigan.
In finance, when somebody wants to speculate on a financial asset, you want to make a bet on a stock or a bond or gold or silver, the way speculators do it is to borrow money in order to make the bet.
I'll be back.
Lower interest rates would make it cheaper to borrow money to buy a bunch of gold. The second reason is a bit more conceptual.
Instead of buying gold and silver, you could keep money in the bank. And if you keep money in the bank, you'll be earning interest.
Say in a certificate of deposit or money market account. But if rates go down, the interest you get from the bank often goes down too. And even though gold doesn't earn you any interest, it could become relatively more attractive. Philip Strebel is chief market strategist at Blue Line Futures.
An investor will want to get that money working somewhere else where they believe that they can get a higher yield. So gold has historically been their like go-to commodity on that.
So the expectation that more investors may flock to gold if rates fall could be part of the reason the metal's price has been rising. But
the level of interest rates is not the only determinant of the price of gold.
Campbell Harvey is a professor of finance at Duke. Another factor, a lot of countries that have historically invested in U.S. Treasury bonds because they're a safe bet are feeling a bit less sure about them these days.
Countries that are heavily weighted in U.S. dollar assets are looking for something else defensive, and gold is at the top of the list.
Those countries are buying it up too, increasing the demand and the price. I'm Henriette for Marketplace.
While we're at it, precious metals, that is, silver, platinum, and palladium all jumped today. Oh, and equities? My Santa Claus rally has begun. We will have the details when we do the numbers. Consumer Price Index came out last week. Inflation is cooling, kinda. As you know, the data come with a whole bunch of caveats. That said, part of that cooling came in a critical category, food at home, groceries. But, and you for sure don't need me or inflation data to tell you this if you've been anywhere near a grocery store recently, the price of beef keeps on going up. Meat in general up 8.9% from a year ago. Ground beef up nearly 16%. Beef roasts up a whopping 21% as we head into a week of holiday cooking. Marketplace's Kristen Schwab has more on that.
We talk a lot about how terrible consumers feel about prices and how many of them, especially upper income households, keep spending anyway. That split is maybe best illustrated at the supermarket, says David Anderson, an economist at Texas A&M.
Everybody goes to the store and we all complain a lot, but we stuck it in the cart anyway and moved on to the next thing, you know?
Despite rising prices, Americans likely consumed more beef in 2024 than they had in nearly 15 years. Some theories: the pandemic coaxed people into cooking more intimidating foods. Protein is very in right now, especially with the growing GLP-1 crowd. It's all juiced demand. Meanwhile, Anderson says supply isn't keeping up.
We've got the fewest beef cows since 1961. Our total cattle inventory is the smallest since 1951. So we're producing fewer animals.
Ranchers are hesitant to expand because of all the risks. There was a smaller beef bubble about a decade ago. Record high prices led to a collapse. Years of drought have made production difficult. Plus, Daryl Peel, a livestock marketing specialist at Oklahoma State, says borrowing costs are still high.
And so there's just a lot more caution on the part of producers and lenders.
Also, beef production is a process. It takes several years to increase the size of a herd. And to do that, ranchers have to take heifers, the females, out of production.
So beef production will actually squeeze even tighter as a part of that process.
And Glenn Tonzer, an agriculture economist at Kansas State, says imported beef isn't going to help bring prices down because of tariffs.
The volatility and the lack of predictability in that has sort of been off the charts.
Do you think how Trump's been like raising and lowering them like he
probably keep rising
has
unless Americans demand less and decide beef is not what's for dinner. I'm Kristen Schwab for Marketplace.
Was this vegan propaganda now?
Move over, cloud architect and DevOps engineer, and here's one for the AI age, prompt engineer. There's a new job title in corporate America, storyteller. According to data from LinkedIn, the percentage of job postings on that platform with the word storyteller in them doubled this year. Katie Dayton wrote about it in the Wall Street Journal the other day. Katie, welcome to the program. Good to have you back on.
An absolute pleasure to be back.
What is the job description for these storytellers? What do they do?
It can be a little writing blog posts, but also writing speeches, producing YouTube videos, podcasts, developing, producing various different shows. Just sort of taking a real handle on how companies are showing up narratively.
It's marketing by another name, kind of, yeah?
Absolutely, it's definitely part of the marketing business. A lot of these jobs sit underneath the marketing heads and departments with just a bit of a sexier name.
Yes, just a teeny bit. Here's the thing, though. Companies don't like to spend money and hire people unless they really need to, which is because it's expensive. What's the value add that these folks are bringing? What can they do that a traditional marketing or communications person doesn't do?
Well, there is a theory that right now, because of the lack of
Storytelling is just marketing
because of all of these
and
newspapers,
tuning out.
magazines closing down, and journalists losing their jobs, a lot of these companies that once relied on, especially business journalists, to tell their stories, they haven't got anyone to go to now. At the same time, we have the rise of AI search engines. If you want to type in something about a company, say you're doing some research and you want to look up a retail company, these companies need to make sure that they are on the web and they are in text somewhere on the internet, even if it's not a typical media publication, and making sure that they have a tone of voice to really stand out, because we're expecting this great blanding that's going to come with AI, right? A lot of companies are going to potentially sound a lot like each other. So if they can hire people that have skills in creating a narrative and making a real strong tone of voice, they think that they can win and stand out and ultimately acquire and keep customers.
I love the great blanding. I have not heard that before, and I kind of love that. But here's the question that follows: creating a voice is hard. It's just not easy, and either you can do it or you don't. So it's kind of hit or miss with these folks.
Absolutely, and then you have to question whether how much of a voice do these companies really want. They say that they do. They say that this is going to be the way that they remain distinctive. However, they are corporations. A lot of these companies are public companies, so they have to really kind of toe the line. And there's only so far that I'm sure their legal departments will allow them to do so. I think that's why these companies are sometimes finding a little bit more success in the entertainment space. So, some are even producing their own entertainment TV shows, podcasts, a little bit away from, detached from the typical day-to-day of these jobs, at these companies. But it's still entertaining and hopefully don't get them in too much trouble from a legal standpoint.
Right, and then just mentioning the entertainment thing and other, social media, it's all about branded content, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And there's a few of these, YouTube and Instagram and TikTok series, these micro series that are coming out that you wouldn't probably know they were funded by a brand unless you made it all the way to the end titles. So there's that going on, and it's just a different form of marketing to capture attention and to just make sure that in this world where there's a million brands out there, some brands will know that they're going to be top of customers' minds when they come to make a purchase.
Brand is everything. Katie Dayton at the Wall Street Journal. Katie, thanks a lot. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Guy.
Globally, that is, a huge amount of electronic waste. According to the United Nations, it'll be 82 million metric tons by the year 2030. That's about 90 million non-metric tons, should you be curious, of stuff that has a plug or a battery. But of course, one person's e-waste is another person's e-treasure. Here's today's installment of our series, My Economy.
I'm Sarai Dunsany, and I am the CEO and co-founder of the Retro Roadshow.
And I'm Huxley Dunsany, the CTO and co-founder of the Retro Roadshow.
We're based in Alameda, California, and we've been doing this officially for about 18 months now.
Yeah, about 18 months.
Yeah, we established in May of 2024.
And we are the Bay Area's premier pop-up museum of vintage technology. I think we skipped that part. feeling that it was maybe worth holding on to as much of it as I could, because there wouldn't be many examples left before long.
So the first time I ever found out about Huxley's collection was when we moved in together. I think what really brought it in for me was his passion for all of this stuff. So I bought into the, hey, let's go
I'll do another run after a little break.
A thrift store. Let's see what they have. And it became really fun. It was like a treasure hunt.
The idea for starting a pop-up museum was kind of always floating around in our minds, but it really came into existence back in 2019. A local coffee shop saw some project I was restoring online and invited us to bring the old computer I had fixed over to the coffee shop and set it up in the window. People loved it, and from then we realized that there was an actual audience for what we were into with this.
So we picked the last Wednesday of the month, and we would come in and bring in vintage computers and classic gaming consoles. I started thinking, I wonder if this could become a business.
I remember pretty clearly the first few times Sarai brought up the idea. I wanted to be thoughtful. Like, I have a day job that keeps me pretty busy, and we have a kid. But at the same time, I freaking love what we're doing. And so I kind of just said, you know, the risk of additional stress is way totally outweighed by the potential of getting to do this really unique, fun thing with people I love. It was a no-brainer.
I just wanted to interject. You did notice that he says with people I love, so he still loves me after this.
Dying inside. I am dying.
Get ready, turn right.
As far as profitability, we are pretty much breaking even. But next year is definitely looking very promising. When I decided that I wanted to leave my job and focus on the Retro Roadshow full time, we gave it about 5 years. It would be a bit of a lifestyle change, right? And then plus, with Huxley being the primary breadwinner,
that was bad.
A lot, that would add a lot of stress onto him. I mean, he's got broad shoulders and it's a lot to carry, but it's been going really well. I feel like by the time we come to 5 years, I think I'll still be doing the Retro Roadshow.
Sarai and Huxley Dunsany, they run the Retro Roadshow in Alameda, California. Vintage or modern, whatever you do, it's your stories that make this series, and honestly, this whole economy go, So please let us know what's going on. Marketplace.org/myeconomy.
What I'm doing right now makes the economy go. I'm trucking it. So if this is a tool.
Coming up,
it can actually increase brand loyalty.
What's old is new again, but first, let's do the numbers.
It'd be funny if I got denied because I crashed into a guy like twice down in Mexico.
Closed at 48,362. The NASDAQ ascended 121 points, about 0.5%. 23,428. The S&P 500 up 43.6%. 68 and 78 there. J. Wellington Wimpy from the classic Popeye cartoons was an early proponent of buy now, pay later when he said, I will gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. So with those ever-rising beef prices that Kristen told us about, BNPL for burgers feels almost necessary, right? So, some online price menus for burgers near Wall Street, menus that may or may not be totally accurate. The spicy jalapeno double cheeseburger, $10 at 7th Street Burger, Financial District. At the Continental Sports Lounge, you will pay 25 American simoleons for the Wick Burger, described as a brisket short rib blend with dill pickle, smoked pork belly, and Irish cheddar. You are, believe it or not, listening to Marketplace.
The Numbers is supported by Mercury, a fintech that offers banking, credit cards, and financial software.
I was going to skip it, but...
Marketplace is supported by Fidelity Investments. A dedicated advisor can help build a flexible
like it's a good thing
plan.
I didn't.
Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC. and by the United States Postal Service, offering holiday postage stamps for purchase at checkout at over 40,000 participating supermarkets and drugstores and at wholesale.
Mods. Hopefully it doesn't crash here, because I do not like that mod, how it crashes my game. It just crashes it. Alright, that's nice. We'll try one more time. I have low hopes. I don't think it's gonna work. Yeah, it's not gonna work. Alrighty. How long has this stream happened? Like 2 hours. That's pretty good. I'd like to, yeah. Checks out. We're gonna visit this dealer. Oh. I'm just gonna go to like my main profile. I'm gonna play vanilla. Let's see if I can load into this without that. Sweet, I just can. Very nice. I can just play vanilla. I head over to Washington. Great market. Boy, darn. That's a pretty big deal. Let me ask these guys if I can trust them not to get my YouTube banned. Wait, hold on, let me... I'm trying to get this working. Alright, I'm back. Can't BC. Alright, let me, unbiased news radio. It gave me NPR. Alright, what else here? Alright, I'm just gonna end stream. I don't feel like listening to NPR anymore. I don't want to listen to NPR. So yeah, that's the stream. Hope you enjoyed.